Hey everyone, welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. This is Mike.
And Orlando. Now we are on episode
It's 5. We're up to
episode 5.
Yeah. So you approached me about this episode and you said you wanted to talk about international shipping.
I do.
And I'm thinking, all right, so previous episodes we're talking about how much money we're making on this item and crazy fine, and you want to talk about shipping. All right, sell me on this. Why international shipping?
Okay, not shipping. I mean, we could do an episode about shipping. I mean, there's a lot of shipping people out there that like to talk about shipping a lot. But international shipping is a big deal. I would say if you want to level up your game, like you have to ship internationally.
All right, and that's good to hear because I already had one. I've only had one offer for international because my international's turned off. Right, I don't even
Okay.
have it on. I had one person on a pair of shoes ask me if I'd be willing to ship to. I think it was Spain that they
Oh,
were
really?
from, and I said no. Right, like I was thinking, my mind was like, not worth it, not doing it. But you're saying it's worth it to ship internationally.
Why'd you say no?
I mean, part of it is probably I just didn't realize like I could change the shipping amount on it. But in my mind, I was thinking like I'm charging like $12 for shipping on these shoes. No, I'm not shipping it to Spain. It's going to cost me too much money, right?
But wouldn't you like make the buyer pay for the shipping?
Well, and see that's the thing is I guess I didn't realize like I didn't even think about like I could change the pricing on it. Like
It's so scary. Like you don't know how much you charge, right?
yeah, I have no idea international shipping, and it just it's a world I don't know anything about. So I to me, I was thinking it's going to sell locally. I'm just going to hold off. But I'm sure there's probably quite a few items that are sitting waiting to be sold that aren't selling, probably because I'm not doing international shipping, right?
So is there anything so you're scared about the cost of shipping
No.
and did you have any other fears like that were kind of like, "Hey, I don't know if I want to do this?"
I mean, cost is a big one. The other one is, and we talked about it a little bit in a previous episode. So I already have some of my fears relieved as far as how do I know it's going to get where it's supposed to go, right? Because eBay does pretty good with that. But, it's just, I don't know. There's just something about it going overseas or going somewhere to another country. Um, I, I don't know. I started selling stuff, Craigslist, right? So people came to me. Now I'm shipping across the United States. The idea of shipping to another country is still a little daunting.
Okay, I get it. So what are you worried about? Like shipping it? Like, okay, let's say you get it packed, the price is right. What are you worried about like when you ship it?
I mean, honestly, if I were at the point where I've got the pricing right and I've packed it and I've shipped it, probably wouldn't be worried about too much. I think the worry is the initial fear of uh, how do I know how to price it? How do I know it was going to be a lot more extra research as far as that goes? And then yeah, what happens if it gets stuck in customs for a month and it doesn't get to the customer and then they leave me a bad review and I don't know. There's a lot of fears.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Uh, is there something else I should be worried
I don't
about?
know. I mean, I'm just trying to think, worst case scenario. I know I was scared of international shipping. I think it was probably by my 10th item on eBay that I had sold. This was like 5, 6 years ago that I really was contemplating international. I had heard a lot of people talk about it, but then what scared me was like all the paperwork too. Like you talk about customs, right?
Right.
So there's extra paperwork that you have to fill out, right? Or what if it does get stuck in customs? Or what if you send something that is illegal,
Right. Yeah, in
right?
that country. I mean, who knows, right? Like a certain electronic device or or we just talked about in our last episode about having free returns, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, you
I don't
ship
know if that
something
applies
to
to international
well,
though.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just something I'm thinking about. So,
Okay. And those are all real fears. And I remember going through that. I remember years ago when I was with my wife, I had discussed this idea of, hey, let's go sell like things international because there's so much of more of a market. And I remember, she was freaking out, same fears. I actually had some of those fears too. My biggest one was, what if I'm sending something somewhere and it just disappears?
mm,
Like I'm not like I don't know, it's weird, but my parents are from like Latin America, but I always had this like mistrust of the police in Latin America.
mm,
And I know we're in our culture right now, there's a lot of mistrust going around everywhere by everybody. But I remember like going, hey, if something goes missing, like are really people gonna care about this guy from San Diego calling about a $50 pair of shoes?
right.
Like they have bigger items to deal with. And so I never really wanted to go with that. And so it kind of held me back. But then eBay had this global shipping program. Have you heard about it?
You mentioned it in a previous podcast, but I haven't used it yet.
Okay, now again, this is gonna sound like an infomercial right here. I promise you, we are not sponsored by eBay, right?
You're just trying to help us make more money, right? Like, I wanna make more
Yeah,
money, so if international shipping does that, like, yeah, tell me about it.
yeah. So you can go the normal international shipping route, right? And think about it. I mean, one of the advantages, right? We talked about this, where local, you have a small market to work
Right?
with, right? And then you go within the U.S. and you have about 300 million or 350 million. Okay, and then when you go global, you have like 7 billion people.
Mm,
Right now, not all of them have access to eBay, right? But let's say even half of them do. We're talking about 3.5 billion people, right? So your market expands. So if you're not going global, like you are definitely shutting out like a massive amount
mm.
of customers. That makes sense?
I mean, I'm even thinking about that with some of the items that I've got, right now that I need to list that are very specific, some American products, and I'm thinking there's probably some people in, like, the UK, for instance, that might, want this item, right? So, um, yeah, I mean, international shipping would be good, but is it something like, do you just have it on all of your items? Like, it's people from international can or do they have to message you and say like, "Hey, I'd like to buy this," and then you negotiate with them?
No, no. So it's both. It's kind of with eBay's global shipping, it's just like a regular sale. Like it's not any different. The only difference is you're just going to ship everything to the same place.
Okay.
So eBay has like this relationship with a shipping center over in Kentucky, and whenever you sell anything through the global shipping program, you just ship it to them,
Okay.
and then they take care of the rest,
Mm.
and you don't have to worry about any of it. Okay, so I give you an example. Like those shoes. I think I've talked about those shoes,
The Kill Bill shoes?
the Kill Bill
Yep.
shoes. Was that episode one?
I think 1 or 2, yeah.
Something like that. And I remember like thinking to myself, wow, if I had to ship these to Brazil, and I always hear about, things are kind of tenuous in Brazil, and I've heard of stories of people losing stuff.
Mm.
And with those shoes, I was kind of worried, like, what am I gonna do? Well, the person only paid, for shipping to Kentucky to me, and then they paid the rest to eBay. And so with those shoes, and there's two things about the shoes. Number one, obviously, no one in the US was interested to pay 500 something dollars
Mm.
for those shoes, right? So I ended up finding a buyer out of the 3.5 billion. There was someone that wanted those shoes and they were willing to pay the money. Okay. On top of that, they paid 11.99 for me to ship a priority to Kentucky. And then they paid all the customs, they paid everything up front. I didn't have to worry about it,
Mm.
right? And I made it to Brazil and that's it.
Nice.
No, it was good.
So, is it kind of like as long as it makes it to Kentucky, then, like, your hands are clean? Like, you're good on the
Yeah, I
product?
would say,
Okay.
yeah. I've had a couple stories. One of them is this is kind of crazy. So I bought like this Wheel of Fortune watch. That's not weird, a Wheel of Fortune watch.
Sounds pretty sweet.
And but it was in a box that was sealed, and I had no idea what was in the box. And you can't open it because it's sealed.
Mhm.
So I grabbed this box at the thrift store, paid $5, and I sold it to somebody in England for like $50. And this was within like 2 weeks of turning on global shipping through eBay. And by the way, you can turn on global shipping for everything. Now, there are some items that eBay will tell you this can't be global. So you got to make a choice whether you still want to sell it globally or you're just going to keep it domestic.
Mm.
Because if they won't do it, then you really are responsible for everything.
Gotcha.
So I bought this Wheel of Fortune thing and I shipped it out. Well, 3 weeks later, I get this pretty upset message. And in it, they're like, hey, I bought this. I thought this was new. I thought this was sealed. And it was all broken when I opened
Oh,
it.
no.
And so I'm like, oh, what am I going to do here? Like, are they going to leave me negative feedback? And so I thought about it. I go, maybe there's a chance that it broke in transit. So I emailed and I messaged them through by the way, make sure you always message through eBay.
Mm.
Always, 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 right? It's for your protection.
Yeah, don't use, like, your own personal email
No,
address
because
or
sometimes buyers will do that. They'll email you. Like somehow
Mm.
I know of some sellers that get phone calls.
Whoa,
Yeah, isn't that
that's a
weird?
little scary.
It is kind of
Yeah.
scary. It's kind of weird. So, so I said, hey, I have no idea. Like I really didn't. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was broken in transit over the shipping. And I said, "You're gonna have to call eBay." And so that's another plus. Like eBay handles that.
Mm,
Like you do not have to, deal with the refund or any of that. And sure enough, eBay did. They got a hold of eBay. eBay refunded them. They didn't take money from me. I kept my money, and all was good.
that's nice. Now, I mean, this is maybe applies both to international and domestic shipping, but when it comes to things like, you're shipping to the post office or through UPS and certain items already have like insurance on them, like up to a certain amount per package. Have you ever had to utilize that insurance? Like, is that an easy process? Is that a
You mean domestic or international?
Yeah, it could be either, but like you're shipping something and it says like, okay, you have up to $50 or $100 of insurance on this box when it ships.
Yeah,
Have you ever had to deal with a case with that,
I
whether it's
did. I
international
haven't
or
had
domestic?
any international, but I one situation I had domestically was weird. I shipped out a pair of boots and only one boot made it. Like I don't
Wait, they're both sealed in the same box?
yes, they were both in the
Oh
same box. And
gosh.
and the way I pack my items is I take the shoes. I usually use medium flat rate boxes. So by the way, those are free from the post office, right? Have you ordered some of those
Yep.
yet?
Yep.
Okay, so you just go online, make an account, and they will ship them to you for free. The only time you gotta pay is when you gotta ship them out. And hopefully, if it's something that you're charging the buyer, it's not gonna cost you anything. So look into that. By the way, the best item to get is the padded flat rate envelope. Have you picked those up?
I mean, I've got the ones that are actually in the post office. I haven't ordered any from
So
the
these aren't in the post office. Like
Okay.
you have to order them, but like it's if it fits, it ships.
What's the cost on the to ship it? What's the
I think
shipping?
it's 6.95 now.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So sometimes, like if I see like women's shoes that'll fit, I'll put it at 6.95,
Mm,
right? And people like that. And you can fit like, let's say you have a heavier shirt that won't go first class, right? You can just kind of just I put full on hoodies in these padded.
nice.
Sometimes a jacket. Like I mean, it's taking some like brute strength to
Yeah,
get
you
it
gotta
in there.
get your elbow in there and push it down,
Yeah, but
stand on top of it.
I've never had a complaint.
Nice.
Like people are if they're getting a good rate, they're willing
Right.
to do it. So back to the boot story. So I don't know what happened. This person got one boot. Now this insurance is another reason to get an eBay store. eBay automatically like you get $50 coverage from the post office, but because you're doing it through eBay,
Uh-huh.
you get $100 coverage, right, for free.
Not bad.
So I sent and this is through the post office. There's another insurance, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And I sent out these boots and one boot. I have no idea. So the way I pack things, I put each shoe separately in either a poly bag
Mhm.
or a priority Tyvek envelope or whatever, and I put them in the box. So I don't know what the post office was thinking. Maybe it caught up in the machine, but they sent me pictures, and the box was like tore open, resealed, and taped over. And I guess they only put one boot back.
Oh, geez.
So I don't know what happened to the other boot.
That's bizarre.
It was bizarre. And I was like, "Oh, I really don't wanna have to deal with the insurance claim." But it really wasn't difficult.
Hmm.
So what I did is what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that the buyer takes care of it,
Okay.
okay? So that's the first thing. Like, if there's ever an issue that comes up, they have to deal with their local post office.
Okay.
There's only so much you can do on your end,
Right.
right? Because usually it gets resolved. All the time, I'll get these messages like, "My package hasn't arrived," or "It's lost," and I say, "Hey, just get a hold of your post office. If you don't hear anything, from the post office, or if you never find it, let me know." Right. And I got to give credit to Scavenger Life for this. They're very big on this thing. They call it the silent treatment. And it's unless somebody is messaging you with a request,
Mhm.
don't answer them.
Hmm.
Does sound weird, right?
Yeah. It seems like maybe counterintuitive as far as like customer service,
But
but it
it's
works.
worked.
Huh.
Like sometimes people just want to rant at you
Right.
unless they're requesting something. Now, I'm always a fan. Like customer is always right. Like
Right.
you got to tend to the customer. But sometimes they'll just tell you something like, "My package hasn't arrived." So I'll say, "Hey, let me know." Then if I don't hear anything, like I won't message them again.
Gotcha.
I'm guessing everything got resolved.
Right.
And I haven't had an issue. My feedback still is good, up to this point. So long story short, they contacted the post office. They made a case with the post office. Uh, I contacted the post office. You have to go on their website, and there's an insurance claim that you make, and you fill out all the information. You load up any pictures, and then over time, they sent me a check, and I was good. So my boots
End
were
of
covered and I
story.
was good
Got
to
it.
go.
Good to go. Nice.
And it was pretty streamlined. You also can use ship cover, which is the other option they give you.
Mm,
I like ship cover. They seem to be a lot faster than the post office. I've had things lost too or broken, and they've resolved it right away.
mm.
So there's that.
Yeah, not too bad. Okay, so international shipping, something goes wrong, they cover it. I mean, it sounds pretty good. I mean, maybe it's just something I should do. Is it something I need a store for? Like, or can you just be a regular seller for the global
You could be a regular seller.
regular
You can
seller?
sell international still. But I would say, think about the other advantages. Like you had talked about there are sometimes items that you think, somebody in the UK might want. Elaborate on that. Like what are you talking about? Like
I mean, just as an example, and I mean, I know that this is a business that's all over the place, but um, I put out an Instagram video a little while ago about a Apple hat that I got, right?
okay,
So
okay.
so I
That was
get
a
this.
sweet hat, by the
It's
way.
a
How
pretty
much did you
awesome
pay
hat.
for that?
50 cents.
Okay. And
50
that
cents, yeah.
wasn't your hustle of the week, the last
No, it
podcast?
might be an upcoming hustle of the week if I don't, yeah, but
I'm sure you'll get some other
yeah, I'm
hustles
gonna
by
get
then.
something else.
Okay.
But maybe once it sells, it'll be a hustle of the week. So I get this hat for 50 cents. It's a vintage Apple snapback trucker style hat. And, I know it's gonna sell, it's gonna probably get me pretty good money, but you never know. Yeah, there might be somebody in Japan or the UK or somewhere else that loves Apple product, and this item might be even more rare there than it is here, right? So, by if I'm the only seller with it or the only seller that's selling internationally, that might open up the door to that person who loves Apple products, but doesn't have access to some of the, stuff that was only released in America.
That's a good point. And what's crazy is, do you remember the Snoopy movie? I know
Snoopy
you were
movie.
like at the midnight screening.
Is
I
it
remember like 2 years ago, like you're like, hey,
is
like
this a new
you put on
movie?
your Charlie Brown outfit
Yeah,
and you're
no,
like,
didn't do
you
it.
shaved your beard and you're like, do you remember that?
No,
Okay,
no.
that didn't happen. All right. But so Snoopy movie was coming out and Snoopy was a big deal.
Mm,
This is probably 3 years ago. Some of you resellers have been in game for a while. Maybe you remember this. And I remember I scooped up anything Snoopy that was vintage. And I remember I picked up all these like small like piggy banks. Probably like one was like maybe uh 5 inches tall or something. I'll probably put this on the Instagram and share it with everyone. And I was selling these piggy banks. I remember I bought, I want to say about 10 to 15 at a garage sale for about $5 a pop. And man, they were selling for like $100 to $200
hmm,
each to people in Japan.
huh.
Like for whatever reason, like
That was the market for it?
that was the market for it,
Huh.
and I sold a ton of them. And actually, I sold one. I still had like 2 or 3 left over after the Snoopy craze, and the movie was people were like their childhood dreams were like broken,
Mm,
and it wasn't what they remember from, the Charlie Brown Christmas episode.
yeah.
But, I still had some left, and I wanna say about 5 months ago, I sold one. It was a Snoopy, and he had like a raincoat on, a rain hat, and it literally it's tiny.
Mm,
I mean, it didn't weigh more than a 2 pounds maybe, and it sold for $70,
hmm,
and they paid the shipping. So, I would have not had those sales had I not gone global.
interesting. And speaking of Snoopy, this might be a bolo. I haven't really done the research on this, so I don't wanna throw it out there as like 100%, take it to the bank. But my wife and I took my son to Knott's Berry Farm actually just a few days ago,
Okay.
and at Knott's Berry Farm, it's peanuts, right? So it's Snoopy and Charlie Brown,
Yeah.
and so we're trying to find a toy for him, and we didn't want to get a stuffed animal because we have so many stuffed animals already. We wanted to get something that was like a harder toy that he could chew on,
Okay.
and so the only thing they had close to this were those. Is it Pop or those? Is that the name of the little
The
figurines?
Funko Pop?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what they were, but they had everything but Snoopy, and every single one that we went to, there was no Snoopy ones. Like, they're just it's as if
Interesting.
it didn't exist there at the store, but they showed on the back of the pictures that that was one of them. So maybe that's a thing right now. If you see a Snoopy Funko
Oh,
Pop,
could be.
it might be one that's worth money because it was not
Yeah, check it
anywhere.
out on eBay. Who
Yeah.
knows?
It could be they go for 50 cents. If so, sorry. Yeah, I apologize.
It's all good. Do your research,
Yeah,
right?
do your
Do your
research
research.
and watch episode 3.
And make sure to be relevant, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big thing,
Yeah.
like being relevant. And again, you limit like your market if you don't go global. Another story. I mean, this is gonna be like story time with Orlando. I'm sorry.
Hey, I've got nothing to contribute for global shipping, so please
Okay.
just keep it going.
So I there's this train set, and I'm actually selling another one, but I think it's called Holiday Express Bright Train Set or something like that. You can find it on eBay. I just type in like Bright Holiday Express train set, and I bought this train set, and I think I paid like $80 for it at a Goodwill, and it was missing some tracks. So I went online on eBay and I bought the missing tracks,
Mm,
and I spent it was really annoying because with these train sets, like the electricity has to run on a current, and so everything has to be aligned just right, or your
mm,
train will stop running. So I spent like 3 4 hours. I wanted to shoot a video, so I had this train, and I had seen that it was selling for like $700 or $800,
wow.
right? So it was worth it to me to spend the
Right.
time. But I also was like worried because this thing was huge. I'm not talking about like huge, like this would go in a large flat rate box. I'm talking about something that was, I want to say, probably like 38 by 40 by like 20 inches, right? And then on top of that, you got to find a box,
Right.
you got to put padding around it, and you have to make sure it's
So you
gonna
need like
make
a
it.
crate, basically.
It wasn't crate status, like that would have been scary,
Yeah.
but it was pretty big. And for a long time, I put in all this work. I'm like, this is never gonna
Mm,
sell. Like, and what if somebody buys it and it doesn't work,
mhm,
right? Or like they can't get the train on their right. So sure enough, like within I would say 5 months, closer to Christmas time, again we're going back to Spain. Some guy in Spain bought it.
huh,
I had it up for I think $750, and they offered me $550. And this is the crazy part. So it costs $100 to ship from California to Kentucky. Then they paid another $400
whoa,
to ship from Kentucky to Spain. And I think customs was extra. I didn't see what the customs cost because I don't think eBay tells you what the
mm.
customs cost was. But they're willing to, the guy did it.
That makes me wonder, like, was the item worth even more, or was it just like that guy had to have it and that was the only way to get it was to pay that kind of money?
Well,
Because
I don't know how many of those train sets are in Europe.
oh,
I mean, it was a made in USA product,
mhm,
right? So the guy, unless he traveled to the US, which would have probably cost him more.
right.
And this guy was maybe a collector, maybe he was related to the royalty in Spain. I don't know, whatever reason he wanted this train
Mm,
set. And so again, it validated for me like global shipping's a big deal.
mm. What percentage would you say of your sales goes international?
Probably 20%.
Wow. I need to turn it on. I feel like I'm missing out.
And most of the items people pay full price.
Hmm,
Like it's very rare I'll get an offer. Sometimes I'll get offers from people in Canada because Canadians get pretty annoyed because it's not that far. And
mm,
actually, if you ship without the global shipping program, it's probably cheaper to like ship a shirt or a jacket,
right.
but I'll still do it. There's another protection we haven't talked about is that eBay will remove any negative feedback you get from a global shipping.
Really?
As far as I know, I don't know if it's still written in policy, but I had a few scenarios. Like I had a guy, he bought a shirt one time and he claimed that it was supposed to be short sleeve, but it was long sleeve, even though my picture showed it was long sleeve. And I called eBay and they didn't even ask me why. They just said, hey, you shipped this to the global shipping program. We're removing your negative feedback.
Huh.
All
Well,
right. I had another scenario. I forget what it was, in some kind of electronic, and it didn't work when it got to them. And the person was like ballistic, going angry, and they gave me negative feedback. And it wasn't like terrible negative feedback. Like sometimes eBay will remove negative feedback if it's like malicious or
mm,
mean. It was just normal, item didn't work, defective, negative feedback. And I called eBay, and within 2 minutes of talking to the representative,
it's like
removed.
almost no questions asked. It went to Kentucky, so you're good kind of a
Yeah. I
nice.
mean, the reality is we have no idea like what happens after Kentucky,
Right.
right? And eBay has actually, I think, yeah, they have. I've sold things to China now.
Mm,
So think about it. I mean, how many people are in China?
yeah, no, a lot.
Okay, all right.
A lot,
We're
yeah,
talking about like 2 billion people or
yeah.
3 billion. I don't know. It's a lot.
And we're talking about countries too. There are obviously established countries that have strong economic systems, and then there are up and coming countries that are developing strong economic systems that are just now getting access to things these collectible items, these things that maybe have always been out of reach, whether it was just the money wasn't in the country or they didn't have access to the platforms and sources. And so, yeah, you're literally opening up your items to people who just have never had access to potentially to these items before, right? And not saying that all of them are going to those types of countries, but just imagine if you're a country that has grown up watching TV shows of things in the United States and now, you're starting to make more money as a country and now you can buy those things from eBay, right? Not the mass produced stuff, but like the one of a kind things that you get on eBay. So,
And eBay's shipping program just makes it so easy.
mm,
Like, think about it, you just gotta get it to Kentucky. So there is no fear of like, oh, like you gotta pack it obviously to make it to the international
right.
destination. But I've also heard stories that eBay maybe repacks some of the
Repacks it.
items.
Huh.
I'm not sure. I've never like seen any concrete pictures, but it's been a legit program. Like I would say a lot of my big ticket items, probably I would say 99% of my big ticket items have gone international.
Hmm. Interesting.
So
Well, I mean, that
definitely
definitely tells me I need to have it on. And going along with that, I think there is that fear of, when you're shipping it to another state or you're shipping it next door, I think, you pack well because you don't want it to break, but there's something about it going on an airplane and going on a boat and then going to, you know, people that you don't know how they're going to treat the package. Cause I mean, as it is, I had a UPS guy and it was UPS. It wasn't, cause you know how sometimes the Amazon fulfillment, shippers, I feel like it's just
the
somebody,
random van
yeah, pulls up in a
sometimes.
car,
Yeah.
but this was a UPS guy, took a box and threw it over my fence. We were sitting having dinner, we saw it,
Nice.
and we heard because it was a box full of, uh, baby food jars, right? So we had ordered, like 2 months worth of baby food jars, and he throws this box over the fence, and as we're sitting, we watch his arms go over and throw it, and he walks away, and we just hear,
No.
and
Oh
they
my
almost
goodness.
all broke, like glass everywhere, and
Oh.
so thinking about, like, you never know how someone's gonna take that box. Are they gonna throw it and chuck it? And then when you're thinking about it going overseas, but knowing that eBay kinda helps ensure that that item is gonna get where it's gonna go, that it's packaged the way it needs to be packaged, and if things go wrong, they're gonna cover you. That certainly eases some of those fears.
Yeah, I think pretty much all fears are gone. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's you're not gonna lose money on it.
Mhm.
Your item's gonna make it. eBay has put barriers beforehand. Like you're not, I've never had something where it's like something got stuck in customs, and so therefore, you're not gonna
Get
get your
negative
money.
feedback or
Like it's
something. Yeah,
it's not it's not a problem
that's
anymore.
good.
And I want to talk to those of you that are veteran resellers that haven't done the eBay global shipping program. And I know there's reasons. Like one of them is you do lose some buyers. I will say that. Like I would, I've had some people internationally that said, "Hey, can you just ship this outside of eBay's global shipping program because, it's really expensive," and they break down the costs.
Mm,
And so I've lost some of them, but I want to say I probably have gained a lot more by doing the eBay global shipping program because I'm more confident, right? I'm willing to sell these items. I'm willing to have these sent out to, every part of the world that eBay allows.
mm.
And so, I encourage people, just check it out. Again, we're not sponsored by eBay. It's just we want to help you be able to, increase your market to be able to make more profits.
Yeah. And hey, if you've got a international or global shipping story of your own, let us know. Right, send us something on Twitter. Right, we're at Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter, or hit us up on Instagram, Pure Hustle Podcast, and let us know your stories. Right, do you have good experience, bad experience, and just share the wealth so
Yeah,
we
we
can
may
all.
get a lot of like bad
Yeah,
experiences.
we might be coming on the next podcast and say stop, never ship internationally. Right, like
Yeah,
there's
and
a.
then and then or we're gonna have to pull this podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as you know, this is a good thing. It works for you, and that's all we can do is right say what works for us. And so yeah, let us know your experiences and stories, and share the wealth.
All right. So, hey, hopefully you found this very helpful to us. Make sure again to like, comment, and subscribe us on YouTube. If you want to contact us, we're purehustlepodcast at gmail.com, or by phone, you want to leave us a message, 619-738-1170. And on social media, like you already said,
Yep.
you can find us on Insta, Facebook, Pure Hustle Podcast, and on Twitter and Snapchat, Pure Hustle Cast.
Yeah, and just share the love, right? Like, let us know what you're doing. Give us your hustles of the week. Give us your bolos. We're constantly posting up things throughout the week when we're at thrift stores, things we're finding. And you never know. Like you could be doing this for years, and we find something that you didn't realize. And I mean, I'm still learning a ton, but you might have something that Orlando has never seen before, and we're passing up on it all the time. So let's just be a strong community. Follow us, we'll follow you, and we're just going to grow together.
Yeah, and remember, eBay Global Shipping, maybe there's a lot of things I've missed or maybe that you've learned that have helped you navigate it or maybe even increase your sales. So you never know.
And that's the end, right? Like we're all trying to make more money and help each other make more money. So
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that ends our episode discussing international shipping. That wasn't so bad, right?
it wasn't too bad. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, well, you've definitely convinced me to turn on global shipping, and we'll see if I make some money, and we'll let you guys know.
Okay. We'll keep you posted. Hey, this is Orlando.
Mike,
Make sure to be real
be relevant.
and be reselling. Lates.
Peace.